Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Thomas and this is my GRI 201 personal video. So I'll start off talking a little bit about myself. I'm a white straight male. Half my family's Irish, the other half is German, and I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada, and I've lived here my whole life. So, growing up, I went to an elementary school here that was not very diverse. I'd say probably 75% of the school was white, and I went to that school from kindergarten to fifth grade. And then in sixth grade, for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I went to a private school, a private Catholic school here, and that was interesting because that was even less diverse. It was probably 85 to 90% white at that school. I mean, there was not much diversity at all. And so growing up, I wasn't exposed to a lot of diversity, and I wish I would have been. But when I hit high school, that kind of changed. I went to Reno High here, and although the majority of the school was still white, there was a lot more minorities than I was used to, which I really enjoyed. I became friends with a lot of different groups of people, and I got to learn about them. I got to learn about the ways they lived and, the things they like to do. And it was kind of nice because it was almost like a melting pot for me, and I was exposed to a lot of diversity that I hadn't been exposed to ever before. So it definitely was kind of a flash to me, but I'm glad I had that experience. And then, that kind of leads into this class. um, I was looking at classes to take, and I saw this class, GRI 201, and I kind of looked into it, and I was like, this seems interesting. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to throw it on the schedule and see what happens. And, the first day of class, I did not know what to expect. I, I didn't know really how intense the class was going to be. I didn't know what we were even exactly going to cover. I was just kind of in there, and I was like, hopefully this is going to be a cool class. And the first day, Jody hits us with the color line, and I was lost. I had no idea what was going on. I don't know why, but it made sense, but it was so hard to wrap your head around because it was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that. And so that first day was just, kind of blew me out of the water. And so the rest of the semester, I really enjoyed listening to other people talk and hearing different opinions and different views. And, one of the things that I actually really struggled with was when Jody asked us, for our essays, like our historical backgrounds, where we come from, and then our first essay, my identity, how I identify as. And when he asked me, like, what's your identity? And I was like, well, what do you mean? I'm me. I didn't understand, for the essay what I was supposed to do. And it was confusing. It's probably the hardest essay I've ever had to write, to be honest. It certainly wasn't the longest essay I've ever written, but just it was so hard because it was something I was not used to. And so I started thinking, what is my identity? And I was like, well, I'm white. Um, my background, I have a lot of Irish and German background. And so I started kind of thinking about my history and my past. And I kind of learned a lot about myself. I talked to my family, I talked to my parents, my grandparents, and I had never talked to anyone before about my past history, my family's history, just because it had never came up, which I found interesting because after learning about myself, I thought about, like, how could you not talk about that stuff? It's so interesting, and you should want to know where you come from and why your family is the way they are. And so I think that was really cool. I learned a lot about myself just through those essays. And the other things that I enjoyed about the class, I think my favorite things were the guest speakers. While all the guest speakers were great, I think the one that stands out the most to me was when Ricky came and talked to our class. And the reason I think his particular visit to our class stood out more than anyone else's was because he didn't just get up and start talking and lecturing, like most guest speakers do. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's normally the style. But instead, Ricky, starts the class off with this video. And I think we all remember that video. And, it was hard to watch. It just showed what, people have to go through. And it's, it makes it tough to talk about. But I had never thought about, if somebody was gay or if somebody, was bisexual or, that they might have it pretty hard, depending on their family and if they're accepted by their family and if not. And for me, that is something that had never even crossed my mind. So the fact that I learned about that, and just different people's families are going to react different ways, and you got to be aware of that. And so I think Ricky did a really good job, and he made it clear, that everyone's different, but that's okay. Like everyone has their own views. Everyone has, how they want to identify as, and that's what makes us all human. That's what makes us all special and individual. And that kind of revolves us back into the whole class. There's no class that I have ever taken, and there's no class that I'll probably ever take again that was quite like GRI 201. We talk about things that anybody else wouldn't even think about talking in a normal classroom. I mean, like the first day when Jody told us to stand up and say, are you white, black, are you straight, um, are you gay, are you bisexual, and that's personal information. And the fact that we just get up and throw that out there the first day kind of set the tone for the class. And we talked about things that were hard to talk about and things that aren't talked about enough. And so, I'm so happy I took this class because I really did get a lot out of it. I didn't talk the most. I'm kind of quiet, but I listened, and I listened a lot, and I definitely heard some things, and my views have shifted in a positive way, and I'm more aware of things around me. Before I just kind of was going through day to day, and I didn't stop and look around and realize all this stuff that's going on, but it's all here on campus, and anybody who has the chance to take this class should take it. I personally think it should be required by the university to take a diversity class like this, just because people don't know. I mean, like everyone comes from different places, and Jody gives the example. Imagine the white kid who comes to campus and has never seen a black person before in their entire life. How are they going to react? Or vice versa, a black person coming to campus who had never seen a white person before. Some people come from very diverse places and they're totally used to it, but some people are not. And so I just think classes like these, it helps to make people aware, and you don't have to agree with everything, or that's not the important thing. The thing is that you're learning about all these issues and that you're aware, because when you're aware, then you know what's going on, and you can, if you want to try and create change, or if you want to try and go out and make a difference, you can, because you have the skills. So I definitely think I gained a lot of skills from this class, just how to talk. I would never know how to just spark up a conversation talking about race or about people's sexual orientation, but now I do. And I've talked with friends and family, and I'm moving this conversation beyond the class because I find it so interesting, and so I want other people to start having these conversations too. And without this class, I just would have been still in my same old ways of just being unaware and not being out there and seeing everything that's going on. So I just want to thank you, Jody, for this class. It really was awesome. It's a very unique class. And lastly, thank you guys in class for making our discussions fun and interesting. It really did make the class that much more enjoyable. So thank you guys for that.